Hey everyone. Okay, so we're picking up where we left off of. These are our Genesis 31 Bible notes. This one was kind of long, but like I said, we want to memorize all the names and all the things that are happening. So Jacob left because God told him to. He just didn't decide to leave. God told him, "Hey, return to back to the land of your fathers that I promised you." And I'm not sure why Rachel stole the idols. I mean, all these stories are really long and complicated, but the main thing is for you to understand and remember the speckled sheep and the spotted uh, lamb, and that God does speak to people in dreams. That the dreams were not just said to have been just to men or certain. There, if through the Holy Scripture, there's women that prophesied, and there's men, of course, that God spoke to and prophesied, and also then it said the angel of the Lord told Jacob, you know, I'm the one that appeared to you. And if anybody knows a little bit more about God, that God is not cannot physically be seen in that type of way or form as for him to say, I appeared to you. His presence might have been distributed another way. This is a Christophany, like I said, that's written all through the Holy Scripture from beginning to end. That's all you'll see. So the angel of the Lord is, Christ coming and making himself known. That's something that when the Holy Scripture says to that we have faith not by sight, not that we walk by faith not by sight, basically that we don't see the things, that we walk by faith, that is not meaning that we're walking blind or we don't see it or we just believe it. It's something that is already in us. It's already built in us. So when we see something or we recognize something that we know to be true, we understand it because it's already in us. It's just like somebody told us something that we didn't understand, but then we seen it. We're like, oh, okay, that's what you meant. That's what Holy Scripture is. And if you can't catch the Christophany of Christ being in here and presenting, it's going to be hard for you to understand the Holy Scripture, period. So, and not just that, God said, He said, it said the angel of the Lord appeared to Jacob. We told him, hey, I'm the one that appeared to you in Bethel. And then he said, I'm the God. I'm God. I'm the one that was there. It says, I am the God who appeared to you at Bethel. And this was the angel of the Lord speaking. So you kind of really have to just, and you could go back to different texts and read this. I'm using the New Living Translation because it's easier to a first-time reader to kind of understand a little bit better. But the actual words, that are written in Hebrew and Aramaic, they're a little bit different. But they're even more, resourceful, more open. But that's something that we have to remember, that God does appear to them, and He appeared to both of them as a warning. It's something that we really you cannot overlook. And remember, so it took him 3 days later, he caught up and he made an oath with God. And they said they both made an oath with God between, Laban's grandfather Nahor and Jacob's grandfather and grandfather. And it's all our God. They all called to them as witnesses. And even though, like I said, the world likes to separate them, they're all still God's children. And that's something you have to understand. And the reason I did keep it short and just write this here is because the next stories are going to include some names and some bloodlines of some of the children that went on from Rachel's children. So we have to spend a little bit more time with that. But thank you everybody for watching and listening. This is something that I just put over. It's raining outside. It's ugly weather. So I just burning around all day. Rest of my whole life. So just get this down. Don't forget it. I mean, these words are so precious. There's so much in here, so much depth. But just to get the wealth and the Jacob, how God was with him and his children, to take him back home. We got to remember those things. We forget those things through our day. When we try to tie everything down to what we want, what we need, what we're comfortable with, we forget that there's a greater purpose for our life other than that what we feel comfortable with. And every time that we listen to God, we don't have to wonder. And I know that because I've been tested many times, and I know what's right and wrong, and I know what's God put in my heart, and I know when I go outside of that, I'm gonna reap the consequences of that. I am, because I feel it. I could feel the uncomfort there. I know that there's something wrong, but when I'm not doing nothing wrong, and I do follow God, and I do follow His word, I'm at peace, and I don't worry whether there is problems or something does happen. I think to myself, what are you going to show me now? What are you up to now? And it's not something that worries me. It's something that it's like, in order for me to see myself past this right now, you have to do something amazing and supernatural. And I know He wouldn't do it any other way. He's God. He's not gonna make things so simple as I could say, oh, it could have coincidentally happened, which is not a word, by the way, but it was lucky, or it just happened, or it was by chance. That's not how God works. There's no. So I know where it came from. Let's just put it like that. I know where it came from. I know where it was directed from, because I know where my heart was when I did obey, and I know where my mind was, and I know that it was with Him and with Him alone. So just remember those things, and always pray at night, pray before you go to bed. And I know a lot of people that don't like to do prayers, or say prayer doesn't work, and that's a whole other subject that we all have to really ask ourselves, what do we ask for? I find myself sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I get upset, and I have to remember, like, what am I upset about? What am I uncomfortable with? What are the things that are really bothering me? And are those things that my God would get mad over? Or basically what I ask myself is this for a selfish purpose? Is this for something that I want? Is this for something that only is going to benefit me? What I'm asking and what I'm wanting with what I'm upset about, is this all just for me selfishly? And most of the time we will figure out that it is just for us, self, and we don't think about others and the consequences and stuff like that. We get lost in ourselves. And I'm happy, and I'm blessed to be humbled in humility, to be able to recognize my mistakes, and for me to be able to say, okay, I'm wrong when I do something wrong. In this week we come into the crucifixion week, and I will do extra for that as this week comes along. As Palm Sunday just passed and all this stuff, I'll do extra story, write, and video for that. But there's a lot of things that happen in those times, and it's that still exist today, that they still stand, and they'll forever stand. They've always been there. They're just there now for us to see, and that weren't there before. So like I was saying, beautiful, beautiful things that Christ did that happened during those times. Everything, even there's so much. Oh, there's so much that's tied into the world, but let's just keep it basic, and remember to get out of ourselves and our selfishness. That if we want something our way, and if it's selfish, if it's you'll know if it's selfish, if it's a worldly thing that you want. If you want something that is not forever, if you want something that's not forever, it's a selfish thing, and that's it. And most of the time, that's what it is. Okay, so all right, take care, and we'll be back tomorrow to read Genesis 30. What did I say it was? Genesis 32. All right, God bless you guys. Here. Okay.
Final word.